Still on the electoral processes, stakeholders have been charged to come up with recommendations that can help in reforming the electoral processes in the country. This is to help build the right culture and environment that will support Nigeria election. Chairman of Yaga Board Africa, Hussaini Abdul, gave the charge at an electoral reform roundtable held in Abuja on Monday, noting that the rationale behind the roundtable is to understand what went well, what didn't go well, and what the civil societies can do to improve the next elections. Abdul highlighted that the only major way of improving elections is by reforming the legislative framework that defines Nigeria's elections, and by reforming the electoral processes, the nation's federal system can be strengthened.
One major way of improving this is by reforming the legislative framework that defines our elections. For some of us, this has been a tradition. For every election, Nigeria is one country, and for every new elections we're going through, we expect a new law. And this has been our history. Of course, there are cases where we went through elections without a new legislative act, but not because, probably because the Legislative Assembly or the Executive refused to assent such laws or such bills, but not because people didn't try to change them.
INEC guidelines to turn them into law, because the difference between guidelines and the law is that the guideline is what someone sit down and feel that this is the guideline. But when the guideline is now a law, it becomes that it must be mandatory to do this, that you don't have any option.
Speaking further, the special advisor to INEC Chairman Professor Mohammed Kuna pledged that the Commission will work on recommendations that will be made available to improve on the reform of the electoral processes.
For civil society organizations to raise, and I think that if you look at the contributions of civil society to the last reform, these are matters that civil society organizations should be raising. It is not matters that the Commission itself will raise. It is matters which civil society organizations.
The anchor of West Africa. It is also the bulwark of its democracy. Helping it succeed should therefore be everyone's priority. Nigeria's success depends, at least in part, on the democratic legitimacy of its institutions, which start with elections, which brings us to today's event. The 2023 elections fostered, I think, high hopes. The country finally passed a new electoral law, a recommendation actually of the 2019 election reform roundtable that we co-organized here. That law was supposed to fix many problems.